Hey Maria, nice timing. I'm actually getting ready to head out to Tornado Alley for a little bit, so yeah, let's go ahead and nerd out. So I'm actually an extreme nature and landscape photographer. I spend a lot of my time documenting active volcanoes all around the world, and during storm season, you'll find me out in Tornado Alley, chasing down tornadoes and supercell thunderstorms to document those. Alright, so how I got into photography is actually quite a funny story. Back when I was 15, my parents maybe accidentally forgot my 15th birthday. And when they realized what they had done, they came out with whatever they could as a gift. And that happened to be an old Yashica MG1 camera. Now I had absolutely no interest in photography, never picked up a camera, never read any photography books or anything like that. So when they gave it to me, I was kind of like, what in the heck? This is not a car. This isn't, a learner's permit or anything like that. But my dad said something that caught my attention. And before I get to that, he and I have always been really competitive in a fun way. So when he said that he had this camera in the Air Force and he had no idea how to use it, that was like a light bulb going off in my head. He said he didn't know how to use it, so the competitiveness in me automatically came out, and I knew I had to learn this camera. So I did what any 15-year-old would do without a car. I took advantage of what was in my parents' front yard and photographed everything from flowers to dead ladybugs to whatever I could put in front of my lens. And I had a little yellow notepad with me that I would write down my settings on. And I had no idea what these settings even meant. But then I would mow yards, save up my allowance, and get the film developed. And then go through each frame and kind of look at how the frame turned out and what my settings were. And through the good old library card catalog, I checked out books and I kind of learned how to tweak those settings and how to grow from there. And it was pretty much all downhill from there. Once I learned how to use that camera, I wanted to know more. I wanted to upgrade to the next best camera or a different lens. And then eventually when digital came out, I swapped over to digital and never intended to make a career out of it, but that's kind of where obviously it went to. So yeah, back when the pandemic first came out, or first became a thing, I immediately panicked a little bit. Not only just obviously for the safety of my health and my family, my girlfriend and all that, but also how am I going to continue this career that involves travel so much? And for me, it was not necessarily a curl up and hide kind of mentality. It was, all right, let's attack this and let's figure out how to make something of this. So I took every precaution I could. I avoided people as much as I could. But the good thing about what I do is, being in, say, Tornado Alley, not many people are already there. So the pandemic didn't really affect too much of my documentation of severe weather, as most people, like I said, just don't really tend to hang out around those kind of storms. So, but later on, when I started traveling more to landscapes and stuff like that, it was still trying to be as safe as possible with just avoiding people and making smart decisions. All right, so what was my first camera? This is it. I still have it. It's an old Yashica MG1. I think it's got a 45 millimeter prime on it. Good old nerdy metal cable release. Yeah, this is where it all started. This is the beast. So now things have changed a little bit. I'm not on the Yashica MG1 camera anymore. I actually use the Nikon Z7 II and the Z6 II. Both those cameras are my go-to camera bodies. Favorite lens that I've got is the Nikkor 14 to 24 millimeter Z. That lens is just absolutely incredible, and the size compared to the old F mount, the sharpness, it's so perfect. So I find myself using the 14 to 24 millimeter quite a bit for my storm work and also my astro work, but also I love the Nikkor Z70 to 200 millimeter lens. That lens helps me so much with getting intricate details, especially when I'm shooting volcanoes where it's not necessarily as safe of an environment to be able to get close to. So that 70-200 lens is my go-to lens for shooting volcanoes. So I do cover and shoot quite the variety of different scenes. Everything from astro, whether that's Milky Way or Northern Lights or eclipses, to severe weather, to volcanoes, to just normal landscapes. And I learned by a lot of trial and error, a lot of just getting out there, putting myself into that situation, and learning how to shoot by literally being there and embedding myself in there. I'm not a big person that learns from, say, reading books. Yeah, I did learn that way when I was growing in photography, but I still found myself learning more by just actually being out there and shooting and using the gear. So still to this day, I'm always learning. I've never kind of said, hey Mike, check, you're done, you've got it all. I'm always willing to learn and grow. And I think that growth comes from just putting myself out into the environment, giving myself a goal and not saying no, and doing whatever I can do to accomplish that goal or that image or that technique. All right, so what does my family think about what I do and the dangers I put myself in? They're kind of used to it. They've seen me do this for years, so they're just extremely supportive. And you know, my dad absolutely is a huge fan of my photography. My brother is kind of like, hey, just don't get yourself in trouble. And my mom, she's a huge fan as well, except she likes to know what I'm doing after I've already done it. So if I'm on a project or I go out chasing or something like that, I'll tell her the next day what I did and what I saw. But I'm extremely grateful for their support and for their love, and my girlfriend as well. She's my #1 fan and pushes me when I don't want to be pushed, but also supports me no matter what I do or where I want to go or what I want to photograph. So it's great to have that kind of support system behind you, because this job isn't necessarily the easiest, and sometimes it's kind of hard to stay motivated and encouraged, but with them behind me, they keep pushing me forward, so I'm very thankful for that. Alright, so why do I photograph things or subjects that most people consider dangerous? I think that kind of goes back to my childhood. I was always fascinated by nature. I would be that kid at recess during elementary school that laid out on the picnic table and watched the clouds go by. Or I'd go check out science books or geology books, and it would just look at the pictures, to be honest. I'd look at all the volcanoes and the tornadoes, the hurricanes, the blizzards, the earthquakes, just all the photos that have been taken, and honestly kind of drooled over them. And you know, growing up with National Geographic, you know, you flip through the pages of the magazine and my jaw was just on the floor. So when I finally got my camera and got the ability to go out and see these things for myself, there was no stopping me. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to see these natural events and create my own photographs and tell my own stories, like the ones that I saw and read about growing up. Where do I draw inspiration from? Everywhere, to be honest. You know, I spend a lot of time reading and flipping through the pages of National Geographic and seeing how those photographers tell stories. Amy Vitelli, Kia Lazinski, you know, Brian Scarry, those guys, I mean, just incredible storytellers. And so I get inspiration from them, but I also get inspiration from the photographers who may have never been published or just post on, say, Instagram or Facebook, because we all see the world so differently. And it's really cool to see how somebody who may have just gotten their first camera versus somebody who's been doing this for decades sees the world. And I take little bits and pieces from everybody's work and their visions and try to incorporate them into my own work as well. So right now I'm working on documenting the 2021 storm season. So we're kind of right in the middle of it. I actually head back out on the road tomorrow for almost 2 weeks. So I'm working on this year's storm season, and then after that it's going to be transitioning back over to active volcanoes and documenting as many active volcanoes as I can get to this year. And that's a little tough because you know, unfortunately we're still in the midst of this pandemic, so there are travel restrictions, but I want to get back out and continue showing the beauty of these volcanoes that are erupting. Oh man, I've been fortunate enough to be on so many incredibly amazing shoots. But I think documenting the Icelandic volcano a couple months back this year is going to be extremely hard to top. It was just absolutely incredible. I mean, Iceland really opened this event up to the public and to photographers. For us to be able to get up close and personal with the lava, with the fissures, it's access that I've never had before. So there were times that I literally was standing inches away from the lava. I may have accidentally melted my pants one day, melted the feet on my tripod, but it was just incredible to be able to get up there and to literally be standing, 20, 30 feet away from an erupting fissure and feeling the ground vibrate and shake and hearing the sound of like a jet engine taking off next to you. That I went out there for, I think, 8 days it was, and those memories will forever be with me. To be able to see the newest land on Earth getting formed right in front of you is obviously one of the coolest experiences ever, but being able to literally walk right up to it, to experience it, to feel it, and to have no restrictions, that was truly remarkable. And some of the imagery I captured out there has been some of my favorite volcano imagery I've ever captured in my life. So it was just one of those experiences that I will absolutely never forget. All right, so one of the more challenging shoots that I've had in my career was a recent shoot up in Guatemala. I was documenting the Fuego volcano, which is pretty tough to get to. It's an extremely tough hike going almost 6 miles completely vertical. Add in all the camera gear, the tripods, the time-lapse rig, all that. It's a lot of weight to carry for that long of a duration. And once you get to the summit, you're almost 14,000 feet or so, and it's either really windy or scorching hot, or you're embedded in the clouds and everything's damp and you've got water dripping off of everything, or at nighttime it gets really cold. We're talking like mid-20s. So it can be quite tough with the wind to get a fire going to stay warm. So you have all these different weather environments and conditions up there that make it not necessarily the most comfortable place to be. But then Fuego is not always consistently erupting. Fuego erupts maybe 2 to 3 times per hour. So you have to put yourself in these environments and then literally just sit with your finger on the shutter waiting for that perfect moment with the volcano erupting. And it usually scares the bejesus out of you when it does happen, so you have a little delayed reaction to get the shot. But it is absolutely incredible and one of the more memorable experiences that I've had, but the conditions definitely don't make it fun to shoot in. Oh man, asking me to pick a favorite location to shoot in, that's like asking me to pick a favorite kid. I'd probably have to say I got 2 spots. First, let's just go with, you could probably guess it, Tornado Alley. I absolutely love shooting storms. It's just one of my favorite places on earth to be. But if we're not talking severe weather or anything that extreme, Banff National Park up in Alberta, Canada is just like Narnia. I think there's no way to take a bad photo there, and it's just such a beautiful place. The people are so kind. The hiking is endless, and it is just a place that I've been to over a dozen times now, and I still hold it so close to my heart. And I get off the plane in Calgary and I'm like a little kid running through a candy store just trying to get my rental car and get out to Banff as fast as possible. So yeah, I would say Tornado Alley and Banff, they're both tied for number 1 in my favorite places to shoot. Oh man, hot or cold as far as shooting location goes? I'm gonna have to go with cold. I love winter weather first. I love snow. I love all the textures you get in snow and freezing lakes and cracked ice and all that. Plus I live in Texas, so it is so hot here all the time that it's nice to kind of get a break from the heat. Plus you can only take off so many clothes legally, so you have no problem with putting on more and more layers in cold places. So I'm gonna have to say the cold places have the advantage and the upper hand for my places to go shoot. All right, night or day shooting. Oh man, golly, these are tough. I'm gonna have to go with probably night shooting. I love capturing images that I often kind of describe as the as you were or while you were sleeping shots. So much goes on above our head in the night sky that most people won't ever see because they're sleeping or because of light pollution. So I love being able to go and capture images that show the beauty of our night sky, whether that's a meteor shower, a comet, the northern lights. It's just the Milky Way, even, it's something that's shot so often by so many photographers. But for me to get out there and it's kind of like a moment of zen being out under the night sky. So I'm gonna have to say nighttime shooting has the takes the cake for me on that one. All right, bucket list shot. I've got a whole list. I guess they call it a list for a reason, right? I would have to say one of my number one shots though that I want to get that I haven't got yet is out storm chasing. I want a nice like 14 millimeter vertical shot from in a field of a tornado just crossing right in front of me. I want to be so close that I can fill that 14 millimeter frame with the entire tornado. And almost got it this year. Almost. I could have gotten a little bit closer, but I pulled over and the tornado didn't come as close as I wanted. So I think I shot that shot at 24 millimeters or 20 millimeters and the tornado filmed the frame. But I want that 14 millimeter shot where you can look up from the debris cloud all the way up into the circulation above you. I think if I get that, I might hang up the storm chasing skates, let's call them. But I don't know, we'll see. I love storms and everything about it, but I think that shot, if I ever get it, might be really, really hard to top. If I weren't a photographer, I think I would like to be a marine biologist. I know that came out of left field, but I've always had a love for orca whales. I was, this is a little embarrassing to tell, but I was a little kid and I would always watch Free Willy. That would be like my go-to show. Like every day, I probably tortured my mom with watching Free Willy as soon as I got home from school. So I watched that movie and I just loved whales. I loved everything about the whales in the ocean, and I actually would save up my allowance and donate it to the Save an Orca Foundation every month. I just realized how nerdy that sounds, but yeah, I think I would go into marine biology, and I think it'd be really awesome to do something with whale conservation and in that realm. Yeah, so I think that would be my answer. And besides, obviously, an astronaut. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to be an astronaut? So one of the best pieces of advice that I got in my career is from a friend of mine named Ken, and he taught me everything about storm chasing and about appreciating the beauty of storms. And I remember one year before he passed away that he was talking to me about, am I going to go after photography as a career, or am I going to just go and get a different degree, or what am I going to do? And I told him, I was like, I don't know if I have what it takes to become a professional photographer, to make something out of this this hobby at the time that I truly loved and I was passionate about, but just didn't know if it was feasible. And he told me, basically, if I allow myself to think I can't do it, I'm not going to be able to do it. And it sounds so simple and cliche, but it really made me think, okay, if I am telling myself I don't know if I can do this, that's the worst mentality to have. And he told me, he's like, don't listen to anybody else. Don't listen to what other people may say. Don't listen to your negative thoughts. Just think positive thoughts, and positive things happen to positive people. And from that point forward, I was like, okay, you know what? If this is something I want to try, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to listen to anybody else tell me you can't do that as a career. I'm just going to think positive and push forward, because I'd rather try and then fail and know, hey, I couldn't do it because I tried and it just wasn't happening, rather than, okay, I'm listening to my own negative thoughts. I'm getting negative influence from other people, and I'm just not going to do it for those reasons. So that still sits with me to this day, to basically not allow myself to think negative thoughts about something I really want, I'm passionate about, and to just put forth everything I have into it. And if I fail, at least I went down trying my hardest. But so far, knock on wood, it's all paid off, and that hard effort and that that mentality has really pushed me forward in so many ways. So my favorite piece of gear besides my camera is definitely gonna be my tripod. I put that thing through hell, and it's still standing, no pun intended. Yeah, I think I rely so heavily on a tripod for what I do that I need a good trusty steed. So the tripod that I have, it's beaten, battered, bruised, partially broken, but it's still doing the job that I need it to do. And yeah, I'm sure it feels the same way about me as far as our love-hate relationship goes. But yeah, I think my tripod is probably the second most important piece of gear that I have with me. From everything from volcanoes, tornadoes, to landscapes and night sky, I need it. So yeah, my tripod. All right, if my life was a movie, who would I play? I really don't think there's any other answer besides Bill Paxton from Twister. I mean, he and I, we get each other. Both love chasing storms, don't mind taking a risk or two to get the shot. Plus, he gets the girl at the end. Who else could you really, I don't think there's anybody else. All right, who should you guys interview next? Man, there's so many talented photographers out there. I would definitely point you in the direction, though, of my buddy David Wilder up in Canada. He's been doing some fantastic things lately with wildlife. So I think he would be a good one for you guys to check on out. Hey, thank you so much, Maria, for having me on, and B&H as well. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.